Hey everybody, welcome to a flea market finds episode, and this is a genuine flea market finds episode because it has to do with the July Brimfield Flea Market. So the Brimfield Flea Market, I've mentioned it before, it's one of the largest antiques and collectible flea markets, outdoor flea markets in the world. It's held 3 times a year in Massachusetts, in Brimfield, Massachusetts. And it's not really a great place to get machinist items, but if you're willing to work hard and hunt, you can find some real jewels and some gems, and I've got a few in here, so let's get right to it. Alright, so this is my first purchase of the day, and it didn't take long for me to find a vendor that had a couple of those flip-top, clear glass top cases with all kinds of little knickknacks and things in there, and amongst them I spotted the contents of this box, these 2 items. The box was open so I could see what they were. I asked to take a look at them. I gave them a little bit of scrutiny, and then we got to talking, and he asked for $20, and we settled on $15. And what I got for $15 was the first deal of the day, were these 2 little indicators. This is a cute little Federal, and it's a tenths indicator, so it's 0.0001, and it works perfectly fine. It's got a little bit of surface rust here on the outer ring bezel. Point's intact. It appears that the lug back has been ground off for some reason, and it's marked with the miracle movement. It's got a name, a part number on it of A1/2Q. Never seen one like this before, so see how little that sucker is. And then this one is the one that really caught my eye, because this one is, I think I saw that this is a Swiss-made one. Yeah, so what this is a compact, C-O-M-P-A-C. This is a made in Switzerland indicator. This is actually a very good quality indicator. Judging from the face, I'd say it's an early one. Reminds me of the Alina. Matter of fact, this is branded Alina. That's what caught my eye about this one. I have a larger faced Alina indicator, which is very nice. And the beauty on this one is that it actually works perfectly fine. The point is missing. And I couldn't tell because I don't have any magnifiers with me, but yeah, okay, so the point is broken off on this indicator, so that's the problem with this one. So this one's going to need a repair, but it is a compact, so at least it's worth doing something with. So it is sticking a little bit, but that's probably just a matter of loosening up these screws, the screw right here on the side. But it is returning. So even in the condition it's in, I still think that that's a good find for these 2 indicators at $15. Next item I bought was this item here, and I almost didn't end up getting it because it was in a dealer's tent, and the dealer wasn't around, and so he was kind of like not open officially yet for business. He was running late, I guess. And I asked the dealer next door, and she said, "Yeah, he comes and goes. He comes in late." And so I looked into the tent and I spotted this item. So I wanted to come back and go for it, So luckily I walked around that field a little bit more, and when I came back, he was just coming in, and I immediately asked him if I could go in and take a look at it. He let me in there. I took a look, saw what it was, And I said, how much? And because he didn't have anything priced in his tent. And he said $10. So I got this for $10 with the contents. Some of you may have already guessed what it is. It's a nice fractional drill index by Huot, or Huot, that name that I could never seem to figure out how to pronounce. Surprised nobody's like gone ballistic about me not getting this right after all these years. So this is a great deal for $10, even if it was empty. And turns out we got some stuff in here. Nothing to get excited about. Some of these clips, staple remover, a box of staples. So oddly enough, that bottom drawer has nothing to do with drills. Alligator clip. Alligator jumper lead, I should say. But this is all punches. Well, that's not, I forgot what that is. I think that's an opener for paint cans, if I recall correctly. Genuine Jacobs chuck key, small one, a number 7. This is one of those tools for locating holes for hinges. In the old days when you actually built doors on site, you built the jamb and you mortised the hinges. So this is a Taiwan. This is a rigid tool, 1362. Rigid 1356 with a bend in it. Dayton. Rigid. Broken rigid. So these are all rigid punches. Some of them good, some of them not so good. There's an old Craftsman. Boy, that's seen a lot of use. Is this another Dayton? Yep. Dayton. Oh, there's a nice Craftsman there. There's a Craftsman. Dayton. Rigid. Taiwan. Dayton. See, that's an 1/8 inch pin punch that's been, looks like it broke off. Another Taiwan one. And another Dayton. Screw extractor. Little line level for hanging on a string. And 1, 2, 3 more screw extractors. Yeah, it's the box that I wanted for $10. And I wandered into another guy's tent of collectibles, antiques, glassware, and everything. And amongst all his stuff, I saw this. And I was like, oh, hey, that seems like it's pretty well made. So it's a Bogan 2930. Bogan is a audio-visual company. So this says made in Italy by Manprato Company, I think is what it says. So what this is this is a fancy schmancy camera mount. So it's got the standard connection here for your camera to mount. Okay, forgot what size that is. That's pretty standard there, nothing special there. But what it's got is it's got this articulating arm that it's got this neat kind of spring-loaded cam action lever here that when you flip it, it just unlocks. And that allows you to articulate this thing in quite a few different ways. And then when you get it set right where you want it, kind of like a Noga indicator, you just click this thing like that, and it locks in, and it locks in pretty darn stiff. It's pretty darn good. And then down here, it's got a fairly easy to use clamping system that will allow you to clamp this to, it's funny, what it reminds me of is it reminds me of something that would clamp on the V-way of your lathe, but it's for clamping on a post or a bar. So I got this with the thought that, hey, I might be able to use it down here in the shop when I want to take live shots of me using the milling machine or the lathe. So I thought, wow, I might be able to really get a good deal on this because, you know, what are the odds this guy knows what this thing is or even. But unfortunately, he was well aware that this was a valuable item because he wanted $40 for it. So I was about to walk away when I decided, hey, maybe he's had the thing for a while and he'll take a lowball offer. So I got this for $20 and I'm pretty happy. It's a pretty well made, there's a little bit of surface rust here, but it's a pretty well made camera mount. And I don't know how this thing's supposed to, I guess this just goes on here like this. Yeah, like this. So then you can swivel this around. Yeah, I just put that on there upside down, didn't I? Well, it doesn't matter. You guys get the gist of it, right? Nice Bogan camera mount. I just did a quick search here on eBay sold items, and this camera mount, the way it stands with this clamp on it, trades for anywhere from $50 to $70. They've sold for that much. So I'm yeah, I think I did good on that for $20. Next up, I went into a dealer's shed, little tent there, and was digging through his boxes, and I found a box with a bunch of calipers in it. And I was digging through all the calipers, and there was a lot of really much more rusty ones and no-name ones and just ones that, you know, weren't that great. And then I spotted this cute little pair. Look at those little suckers right there. And what caught my eye on this pair is that these are branded Sawyer, S-A-W-Y-E-R. I do not believe I have any Sawyer inside spring calipers like this. No numbers or anything like that on it, but I think that's still worth around $10. I got it for $3. All right, this next whole pile right here all came from one dealer whose stuff I picked through, and we went back and forth and haggled, and I let him beat me up pretty good on this stuff here. I gave $110 for this pile right here. There are a few gems in here, but you got to dig deep, and it's not going to be a big margin on this stuff. I figured out of that 110, about 20 of that I gave for this Starrett number 246 planer gauge. It's in pretty good shape. No box. It does have 2 of the posts. So for those of you who aren't familiar with these, that can go on there like that. And then there's actually a threaded hole this way too, so you can actually also use it this way. But anyways, that's actually a pretty nice Starrett planer gauge. I'll take a look and see what I've got for a planer gauge now and decide which one I'm going to sell. But that's a big part of what I'm going to make my money back, is probably by selling this, or if I keep this, selling the one that I do have. Hopefully. This is branded Starrett. This is a Starrett surface gauge. It's just the rod with the clamping nut and the scribe. It's nice that it's all together. They're probably all Starrett. I can put that with a Starrett surface gauge down the road if I end up coming across one that doesn't have a rod on it or whatever. There's another one, scriber. And here's another rod. I think this one's just unmarked. This is a hole attachment, indicating attachment, sterret with surface rust on it. This is supposed to clamp on the stem of a drop indicator, and then you can reach into a hole and turn your drop indicator into a inside bore runout indicator. I don't know if there's anything under this rust here, but I actually don't see any maker's name on this piece. It's got a nice little brass clamping screw here. Look at this pair of brass tweezers. These are branded Dixon, made in Switzerland. So these are actually pretty nice tweezers. Several miscellaneous depth micrometer rods. This little box here has all diamond dressers in it, and here's a couple more loose ones. Must have just put those all together. I wonder what that is. Boy, that says diamond tool. That's a really little one. There's an interesting little collet. There's another collet. This is like an ER style collet, but a really small one. And this one here. Now, some of these little collets I'll have to go through and check and see if any of them can be used with any of my tapping heads. This looks like a lathe tool that was ground and sharpened and then dipped. Couple of genuine LS Sterret indicator bars, or whatever you want to call them there. These are for clamping and tool posts, for instance, on a lathe. And then you've got this vertical bar, and this one's nice. It's got the extra horizontal bar. All right. So you can mount an indicator. All right. Don't see a part number on this. Some of these do have numbers on them. This one doesn't. And here's another one, same thing, only this only has the vertical bar, no horizontal bar, but it is, again, it's LS Sterret. This is a nice little bit of kit right here. This is a indicator clamp. Okay, so this would screw onto a like a lug back indicator, for instance. In this little plastic bag is a little tool maker's buttons set. I found one of these in the Loaded Kennedy series that I just did, and it was missing one. This appears to be a complete set, and it is in a oily bag to preserve it. And these are genuine Sterret. These are 494B toolmaker's buttons, complete set. And I also got these toolmaker buttons, 494B, same exact thing, also still in the packing grease, on this neat little stand here in the original box. So as where this just has like a flat bar that they're stored on, this has a nicer little stand that will stand up. But these are a nice little find. Stupid little things like this are kind of pricey because they're Sterret for one thing. This is a Brown & Sharp 716 thread gauge. They're describing this as a 29-degree screw thread tool gauge. Numbers equal threads per inch. Depth of thread is half the pitch. But this has all the way down to like two threads per inch, 1 thread per inch, 1 1/3 thread per inch. So there's some interesting sizes on this thing. And I bet you that, because it's brown and sharp and it's vintage, I bet you that's worth a few bucks. More than you would think. This is a brown and sharp 827A gauge set. Radius gauges or fillet gauges. Small set. Should clean up okay. 4 fishtails. The American Caliper Company. Starrett. Brown and sharp. Interesting one, the way that that one's lettered. And another Starrett. This is a sweet little find. I wish it wasn't rusty. This is a small taper gauge. This is an LS Starrett taper gauge. It's a 269A. I think I have one of these, but it's larger, so it's probably like a 269B or C or something, right? But I think that'll clean up okay. So that's a neat gauge. Here's a tempered brown and sharp number 1 scale. Now this is a 9-inch scale, and at first I thought it was cut down, but then I realized I don't think it is, because, well, no, I guess it still could be. So I don't know what the story is on this. Brown and sharp 9-inch scale. And this is a small little brown and sharp number 11 scale, 6-inch. Optical center punch, missing the pin in the middle, but it'd be easy enough to make a pin for that. So the way this works is you center your layout mark right in the middle of that hole, and then you stick the little pin in there and tap it. This is an interesting little piece in the bag here. Also, again, heavily coated with grease and then placed in this bag to keep it from rusting. I do not know what the story is with this. This is marked Moore Tools of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Moore, Moore Tools of Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's got an unusual kind of shape and setup to it here. So does anybody recognize what this might have been used for? Got a V-groove on the top there. Just a little setup block, I guess. Also in the same bag were these 2 little blocks. They're almost like Wii blocks. This tiny, cute as a button V-block, and this little wedge, it's got a little bit of grind mark damage on it, but it almost looks like this was made to fit in here. So I don't know, interesting little find there. The last item in this lot from this guy included, this was included in this, was this odd little indicator in this plastic box. What we've got is, we've got this little bar here, which again looks almost like the kind that you would clamp in a tool post on a very small tool post. And it's got a bar to for this to slide onto, like so. And this is a tenths indicator, 0.001, but I've never seen one like this that's got this weird, funky little, the way that the needle is. And this is branded Jensen, Jensen, H something Jensen, of Waltham, Massachusetts. Maybe a watch manufacturer or something. I'll have to see if I can find out. But This indicator, its side pressure actually on this is what's making this move. So it's a sweet little indicator. I think it's cool as heck. I'm hoping it's worth quite a bit. And it's 1,000th. It's the fraction 1/1000. So it's the thousandths indicator. Another letter for you now. It's the H.C. Jensen Company of Waltham, Massachusetts. So that could be a sleeper.